For this project, you're going to open up Adobe Illustrator. We're going to go to Create New. And we're going to click Print Letter. And then we're going to use the portrait orientation, unless you've drawn your picture in the landscape orientation. We'll make sure that our color mode is RGB, and then raster effects you can set to 300 if you want, and then hit create. Now what we're going to do is in our artboard we are going to take the image that we sketched and then outlined in black marker. We're going to go to file, place, and we're going to search for it wherever we saved it to. So right here I've got my turkey.jpg. I'm going to place it, and I'm going to click and drag like so that it fits inside of my artboard. All right, and I don't have to be, super precise, but I just want to have it as large as I can right here. And then in the options panel with my selection tool, I'm going to click on image trace. If I get this warning, I'll say OK. It's basically just saying this is a big image. It's going to take a little bit of time, as you can see right here. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of artifacts coming in from the shadows of that picture. So I'm going to click on the panel right here in the options bar, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to play with the threshold. If I don't have enough, I can increase it. If I have too much, like I do right here, I can decrease it, and then it'll retrace it, and then that cleaned it up all the way. Sometimes you have to delete it out with the direct selection tool though. Notice right here it scanned the white. I want to go to advanced, and I'm going to go to ignore white right here. It'll rescan it one more time so the white background goes away, and now I'm going to click expand. So now I have a vectorized version of my drawing. You can see the outlines of the paths right there. All right, so at this point what I'm going to do is go to File, Export As. I'm going to export it as a PNG file. So I'm going to export this. I'm going to call it Turkey2, and I'm going to click Format PNG. Notice what file export, not file save. Export, and I'm going to make sure that the resolution is 300 because we are going to print these. I'll click OK. Now, in Google Classroom, I've shared with you a document called Thanksgiving Coloring Book 2019 Blue 3. You're going to click the plus button right here to create your own slide. You're going to write down here your name, and then you're going to go to Insert Image, Upload from Computer, and you're going to navigate to that image that you just exported. So I'm going to click open right here, and so now I've put that picture into Google Slides. So we're going to have this coloring book that our classroom has created. All right, the next step, we're going to go into Photoshop. We're going to create a new document, 1080 by 1080, resolution 72, color mode RGB. We're going to click create. That'll give us a nice blank space right here. From Illustrator, we're going to use our selection tool to select our drawing, and we're going to edit copy or command C, and then in Photoshop we're going to command V or edit paste as a smart object. Click OK. Make sure add to my current library is unchecked. Click OK, and we can hold option and drag a corner to resize it like so, and press enter to commit the change, or I could click this check mark up here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the background layer and create a new layer, and then with my brush tool I'm going to make sure that the blend mode is set to normal, the opacity is at 100, and then I'm going to use a brush size that's appropriate for my design, and I'm going to start coloring in my drawing. Okay, so you can see right here that because I am drawing on a layer beneath the black lines, I'm actually coloring underneath it, and it's a little bit easier to stay in the lines. Alright, so if I wanted to change the color, I could choose from my swatches up here. I could also double click on my foreground right here, and so maybe I want to make this piece of the turkey's little gobbler thing red, and if I go outside of the lines I can always erase it, or I can go over it again with a brush. So right here I've got a little bit of red. If I press option I can sample that brown, and then I can just color it over again, and so eventually that would be brown as well. And then let's go ahead and set the beak to yellow as well. So just make sure that you're paying attention to your layers, because I don't want to draw on my vector layer right here. I want to draw right here. This is what it looks like if I turn those lines off. Kind of sloppy, but with the lines, looks nice and clean. So I'm going to fast forward to where I'm done right here. I'm then going to add a crayon effect by going to File, Place Embedded, and on Google Classroom, I've shared this document called crayon.jpg, where I actually drew with a black crayon on top of a piece of paper. And I'm going to hold Shift and Option. I'm going to resize this so that's about the size of the page right here. And that looks terrible, but if I change my blend mode to screen and I lower my opacity down to around 10%, you'll see that I got that cool sort of crayon effect. And if I want to, I could clip it so that my background doesn't have that effect. I'm going to save this as a PSD and a JPEG and submit it to Google Classroom.